Hey Algebra 2, I am out today, so instead of you trying to learn on your own, you can watch this video to help you. You should try to do them on your own, and then if you get stuck, maybe watch me do them and then hit pause and try some more on your own. The great thing about watching a video of a teacher is that you can pause it whenever you need and rewind and slow down.
And blah, 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 blah.
And so I'm going to start. So from day one, if you remember, we're going to draw railroad tracks.
Why railroad track?
And I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides to get what m equals. Okay, number 2, again, I'm going to draw my railroad tracks. To undo subtraction, I need to add. And remember, it is okay if the letter is either on the left or right. Both of those are acceptable, no big deal. To undo multiply, we divide. I'm going to divide both sides by -7. I don't know my sevens. 91. Oops. You guys probably have the answer before me. 91 divided by 7, 13. And to undo divide, I'm going to multiply. So multiply both sides by 9. Okay, so that was day 1, just those simple one-step equations. Okay, we talked about more one-step equations with these fractions. So for these, when they have a fraction like this, you're going to multiply by the reciprocal. Remember, that means to flip your fraction. Okay, so for number 5, I'm going to multiply by 3/2. So we've talked about how that makes these turn to 1. But I have to do that to this side. So in your calculator over here, remember you're going to type in 10 times 3 divide by 2. Okay, so hopefully when you do that, you get 15. Okay, make sure that you can get that answer in your calculator. Same for this, because it's 4/9, I'm going to multiply by 9/4. Okay, so in your calculator, you're going to type -8 times 9 divide by 4. And I think that you're going to get -18.
Oh, and what's 10 plus 100?
Okay, I didn't use a calculator, so you should check my work, of course. When we have negative fractions, we're going to do the same thing, but multiply by the negative. So I'm going to multiply by -5/6, because a negative times a negative is a positive. So over here, I'm going to have positive k. And in my calculator here, I'm going to type 12 times -5 divide by 6.
10.
And you get -10. Okay, and over here, I have -2 in the denominator, so I'm going to multiply by -2/1, -2/1. So m equals positive 18. Okay, so those were our day 1 steps. Okay, we moved on to day 2, where we had a few more steps. We had 2 steps equations. So we had to do 2 things. We talked about PEMDAS and working it backwards. So I need to undo, add, and subtract before I undo, multiply, and divide. So I'm going to subtract 8 from both of these. And hopefully I did this correct. And then I'm going to divide both by 6. Okay, same idea. I need to get rid of add and subtract first.
Oh, did you know I'm dumb?
And then I'm going to divide both by 2 to get rid of multiply. For number 3, same idea. I'm going to subtract 9 first. Cullen, that is enough. And then divide both sides by -4. Oops. And yep, sorry. And I get k equals -1. So this one is one that trips us up sometimes, and if it helps, maybe put a +7 there, because we sometimes forget that that's positive, and I know I do. I think I get 27 here. Divide by -3, and y equals -9. Okay, more two-step equations, but these have fractions in them, so we're going to need to do that part where we multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, so first step here is going to be to add 7 to both sides. Okay, and then once we're this far, what we need to do next is to think about that x divided by 2. And to get rid of that 2 in the denominator, I need to multiply both sides by 2. So x equals 32. All right, for number 6, PEMDAS backwards, I'm going to get rid of this 8 first, -8. And then to undo divide or get rid of that denominator, we need to multiply. Okay, and 5 times 3, negative is -15. Okay, for number 7, I need to get rid of this -10 by adding 10. Okay, and then I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, multiplying by the reciprocal gets rid of that fraction. And without doing this, I think you're going to get -12. Okay, I could be wrong. I think it's actually, it's not 12. It would be 16, -16. If I'm wrong, you can write the right answer. All right, again, this is kind of like this one up here where I wrote the +7. If it helps you remember, write the plus there because I have to subtract 9 from both sides first. Oops, this should be +6. This is -1/2 x. To get rid of -1/2, I'm going to multiply by -2/1. So over here, we don't need that, right? Because I wrote negative. I don't want you guys to think that that's something else. I'm going to multiply these, and I get -12 equals x. Okay, so day 2 had fractions in it, and we're multiplying by the reciprocal. Okay, when we get to day 3, we had some fractions that look like this. And this, when I have x plus 11, for example, in the numerator, that's almost like a parentheses. So before we can actually get rid of it or work on that, we have to get rid of that denominator. So I'm going to start by multiplying both sides by 8. That gets rid of my denominator. And then subtract 11 from both sides. Oh, I was being naughty and forgetting my railroad tracks on that one. That's not right at all, Mrs. Vogt. Ooh. You guys are going to have to check my work for me. Same idea over here. Multiply times -2. Negative times a negative equals a positive on that side. Multiply both sides by -6 here on number 3. And 13. I get 8 equals 7. Last one here, multiply both by 9. Excuse me. Sorry, you're doing me sneeze on video. Subtract 8, so I think I get 28. Not using my calculator, you guys are going to want to check my work there. Okay? And then we talked about day 4. We had those special solutions, and there was one on the day 3 assignment. So hopefully you remember that. Okay? So we're on the lookout for this. 0 is an answer, right? X equals 0. No solution is when we get false. And all real numbers are all solutions is when we get true. So first is to distribute. Do that rainbow move. And then this one's negative, right? So negative 7x minus 35. Okay, so now I'm going to try to get numbers on one side and letters on the other. So I'm putting my letters over here, my x's over here, and my numbers over here. And right now I have 14x equals negative 70. Negative. I think my negative got in there. Trying to get my calculator up here. Because now I need to do 70 divided by 14. Forgot my negative up here. Okay. Divide by 14. I'm running into the next problem, so I got x equals negative 5. Okay, that's an answer, and that's an okay answer. Move this calculator away. All right, number 2, I have some like terms on these sides I need to combine first. Okay, so they're on the same side of the railroad track, so I need to combine them. So now I have negative 6x plus 12, and I have 9 minus 6x here. Okay, now that I've combined like terms, let's try to get numbers on one side and letters on the other. Uh-oh, 12 equals 9. That's false. Okay, so number 2 is no solution. Okay, if this were a test, I would want you to write this, no solution. Try to erase a little bit of this for myself here. All right, for number 3, first I'm going to distribute. So 12x plus 20. And the 18 stays there, we're not doing anything with it, and we're going to distribute this. Okay, so 12x plus 2. Okay, we have some like terms that we need to combine. And when I try to move letters to one side and numbers to the other, I get 20 equals 20. That is true. So the answer is all solutions, or some of us like to say all real numbers. Okay, either one of these is a good answer. And number 4 over here, first I start with distributing. Okay, I'm going to get numbers on one side and letters on the other. And this tricks some people up, but I do want all my x's over here. So now I have negative 2x equals, and when I took it away, I'm left with 0. Okay, so 6x minus 6x is 0. The answer you get here is x equals 0. Okay, that is an answer. The answer is 0. If I plug it in, it works. Okay, 0 is an answer, and I keep saying that because it's easy to mix it up with no solution or all solutions, but just getting x equals 0 is an answer. And the most recent stuff that we did, you guys seem to like this, at least Mrs. Vought's class did. First we do parentheses. And now we just do multiply and divide from left to right. Since these are touching, we know it's multiply. And that should be -8. Okay, first exponents. Okay, then I'm going to do multiply and divide from left to right. So my answer is 77. Remember to pause. I'm just going through these. You guys need to pause, play if you have questions. Okay, 3 is super tricky, and we had some problems with some like this on our homework. So first I'm going to do this parentheses. And then I'm going to do the exponent. 6 squared is 36. And I'm keeping that parentheses, and I know it looks weird. I'm going to do this one too. But I'm keeping it as a symbol of multiplication. So if it didn't make sense to you, we could undo that, but we just keep going with this. Like this means I'm going to multiply these, but I have to do this 6 squared first. And then 6 squared is 36, so I'm keeping these together as multiply. So -2 times 36 is -72. And 72 divided by 6. Oops, I didn't need the whole screen for that. I just can't do my multiplication right now. 12. Let's get back to this. So 72 divided by 6 is 12, and 12 subtract 9 is 3. Okay, that one was super tough because of the exponents with the parentheses, with the multiplication. And our last one, this one is 25. So that's what I did first, was the squared. Okay, then I'm going to take care of this multiply and divide part. So I've got 25. And then 14 divided by 2 is -7. -14 divided by 2 is -7. And look at this one is kind of tricky, but what happens when you subtract a negative? You get a positive. So now I have 25 minus 7 plus 8. I don't know why I wrote it twice. 25 minus 7 is 18. And 18 plus 8 is 26, if I did that correctly. All right, you guys are checking my mental math because that's probably where I made a mistake, and brushing up on these skills.